Preseason, guys. How do we feel? Hockey's back.
And we're back.
Oh, just splendid.
Oh, I love the discourse around the preseason, guys. Someone's had a bad first game. They're busts. It's a great feeling, isn't it? But it's a
Mhm.
sign that the season's coming.
Actually, I want to spend the first 30 minutes of the show talking about Dennis Malgin. If you don't mind.
We already
I can't.
discussed a bit about the trade. I really felt that with his return
God.
and Mason Marchment in
Okay, all right.
Dallas, I think the
That's
Leafs
enough.
won the trade.
That's yeah. After one preseason game, I can officially say that the Habs won the Mike Matheson trade, as it is now known. He is nasty. Anyway, no, none of that, none of that. Okay, guys, we have a lot to talk about because since we last recorded, a few things have happened. First off, there's a new paid player in the league in Nathan McKinnon. We've had a slew of retirements around the league. Everything continues to get worse in Philly. We're going to look up some line combinations for the Habs and Leafs, how we think they're going to look at opening day. Injury sort of shenanigans going on across the league as well, pertaining to Montreal specifically, as well as Toronto. Even though there have been a lot everywhere else, like Brock Besser's out for like 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Unfortunate for him. But to start, Daniel, Alex and I have a bit of a surprise for you.
Okay.
So, in the spirit of preseason, I want to throw back something new here, Daniel. Of course, you should never take preseason too seriously, and I want to look at the 18-19 season for a second here, Daniel. Do you remember who led the 2018 preseason in scoring? I'll give you a hint. They played for the Edmonton Oilers.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's not going to be, is it? It's going to be someone random.
It is going to be very random. I'll give you two guesses.
Okay. Who was on that team? Josh Archibald?
It
No.
was not Josh Archibald. I don't know if he was actually on the team at this point.
I don't think so. Looking at the roster, I
Okay.
don't think he was.
Al Montoya was. Wow. What a
Was it?
throwback.
Wait, who was on that team? Was it Philip?
Koskinen was.
Was it Philip Nygaard?
It was not. No,
No.
Nygaard and Yurko are before that. So
Okay.
it was. He had 4 games played, 11 points, 7 goals. Ty Ratty. Now, Alex, could you please let us know that season? How did Ty Ratty play?
Lord, he in 50 games he played that year, he
Mhm.
had 11 points.
Which
Four-
is his
yeah.
was his preseason total, by the way.
Yeah. He had
Oh
4
my
goals and
goodness.
7 assists.
I remember Tyrati. I remember when they said St. Louis got a steal in the second round, when he finally went to Edmonton, that he's going to find that scoring touch he had with the Portland Winterhawks, I believe. Yeah.
I'll double check for you.
Remember
But
he
no,
was teammates with
he was
Seth
like
Jones.
32nd overall, wasn't he?
Yeah, and he was
Yeah, it was Portland. Portland, yeah.
yeah, because I remember he was like he's buddies with Seth Jones.
Oh, okay. He was a nasty player in junior, by the way. Jeff Merrick was definitely a fan of Portland Winterhawks, Ty Ratty. Definitely knew everything about him.
I can't believe you knew he played for the Portland Winterhawks. I won't lie. I'm so impressed.
I was a little worried that Daniel was going to get it right because if anyone here was going to.
It was going to be him.
Was he ever on the World Junior team?
He was. So
And
Yeah,
there
we
it is.
go.
Okay, that explains it. That's why Daniel knows. Okay, I guess to start here, we're already in preseason mode. The Leafs have played a few games so far. I'm not
Two.
gonna lie to you. It's two. It was the two in the same day, right? Both
Uh-huh.
against Ottawa for some reason.
Yes.
The Canadiens have played one against the Devils. By the way, the theme of that was good but not good enough, which is probably going to describe their whole season. Shout out to Habs Chronicle for making that joke. I'm not going to steal it. Before we get to that in the injury news, this is going to sound like a dumb question, but do you guys have any takeaways from Maple Leafs' first two, the Leafs, I should say, first 2 games of the preseason? At least let's focus on the young guys here. I don't. Who cares about how Nylander played, for example? He's making the team. That's not a concern.
Okay. I'm going to be brutally honest.
Mm-hmm.
I did not watch those games because there was UFT games going on that I had to watch. So I tried. I watched like 5 minutes. Then the Sportsnet stream on my computer just didn't want to keep loading. So that didn't happen. But from what I've read, I believe, well, there was 2 guys in particular that I just kept reading about, not necessarily young guys. I think with this team, there's not a whole there's no one I think that's young, I guess if we want to put it, who's gonna really take a roster spot other than Nick Robertson potentially. And we'll get to opening night lineups, but that's one guy I think that stands out. But from what I've read and what I've looked at, it's Elias Samsonov and Dennis Malgin. Like, I know I joked about it, but again, like, it's preseason. Like, take this with a grain of salt. Absolutely, please. But again, like, that's just what's out there.
Daniel, anything to say?
I actually think Alex previewed a lot of what I had on the notes already. So Nick Robertson, I'm a big fan of him, also Filipino guy, and I just like that there's a bit more of the attention on what he's done right rather than this is another injury scare. So I like that he bulked up in the summer. I like that they're gonna probably give him a lot of more opportunities to play in the top 9. So there's that. He's still a pretty young guy, and Eliab Samsonov. I think I posted on the Instagram, but I love his new mask. It's pretty nice. And I like that he's just getting a bit more runs out there. That I think there was that plan that they wanted to play him a full 60-minute in a preseason game. So that's pretty good. And we're going to get back to him later on. But I think those are the two guys that I actually just like to see them play. And that was nice.
Fair enough. I actually fortunately got to see some of Montreal's game yesterday. I can't remember the last time.
Did you say fortunately or unfortunately?
Fortunately, because it was actually an entertaining game.
Okay.
See, the difference between last night's game and previous preseasons is they actually had young prospects who were exciting. I normally do not watch preseason because I do not care. But I was in a position to yesterday, so I watched it. And first off, a guy who I don't know if I talked too much about, but he stood at the rookie tournament to the point where they actually end the scrimmage games they had. They actually played Owen Beck on the top line with Mike Hoffman and Cole Caulfield, and he looked really good, and he won a lot of faceoffs. He's continued to be really, really good. And I don't know what it is of Mike Matheson, but he turned into the second coming of Larry Robinson last night. Expecting more bit from Slafkovsky. You can tell he's using his body, maybe doing too much. I think something we got to remember about him too is we've got to get him used to North American ice. But a bit more from me. I don't think he looked awful. It was just sort of, see how he continues to go. But, I don't get too bothered by preseason games. Kane Prima was not good. He had a very soft goal, which was like, it's getting really hard to defend you, my friend.
Wait, you mean Juraj Slafkovsky is not a bust?
No.
The Twitter sphere is wrong.
We could relax. Don't worry.
And you guys know I was against the pick, but I'll defend him and be like, guys, if we're doing it now, then I don't know. It's really funny.
No, sorry, go on. No, I'm always gonna remember at the draft your mom recording you before the pick was made. I just always gonna remember that.
And during it,
yes.
Well, I think you remember because you were supposed to do it and you forgot.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. We still got it. I mean, it's gonna be funny if he turns out to be a monster, and you just look back at my reaction. I was not a fan at the time. I was not a fan at the time.
But it'll be before and after video. There we go.
Yeah, it was like his first goal, and I'm just losing it. Beside that, like, I'm just trying to think of who the guys were standing out. Caulfield scored, but it's like, that's good. He was making the team. Justin Barron, I want more from him. Didn't have a great rookie tournament. Maybe it's because he's playing next to Mike Matheson. We need more from Justin Barron. Again, rookie tournament, and preseason, but Justin Barron as a guy who, considering the lack of right D they have, has a spot waiting for him. And I think he's getting left in the dust by Caden Gooley right now, who was also monstrous. You remember how, like, Ben Sherratt was one of those guys who just cross-checked the dude in the face and dropped him in the crease? Caden Gooley did that last night, except he can actually skate, unlike Ben Sherratt. And I was like, oh, Caden Gooley, who's that mean SOB friend? Oh, it's Gooley. The meanness that you hear about in his game is very apparent. But, they lost, which is unfortunate. I wanted overtime really, really badly, but I didn't get it. But yeah, I guess we could talk about how we have opening night rosters looking right now. Since we're on the Habs, we can just start with them and then we'll go to the Leafs.
All
So
right.
I have a mix of these where, first off, before we go to each line, I'll just sort of update the listeners what injuries are looking like right now. First off, obviously Paul Byron is not expected back until around 2 weeks into the season. It's expected. Joel Edmondson is of course out indefinitely. Um, don't really know what's going on there. Josh Anderson isn't skating, and apparently they're saying his injury is worse than day to day, which was what they thought it was at first. Suzuki, apparently, if there was a game, he would be playing, but they're just being cautious, which you can expect why. And Sean Monahan is skating, and that seems to be it. So, for example, I do not have Josh Anderson, Sean Monahan, Joel Edmondson, Carey Price, obvious reasons, Paul Byron in my lineup, or at least they are unhealthy players. There is one healthy scratch, and we will get to Joel Armia a little later, and I'll do the same thing when we get to the Leafs. But anyway, yeah, this is a mix of stuff I'd like to see and stuff that, based on what we've seen so far, is probably going to happen. You may see some guys playing on their offhand because Marty St. Louis likes doing that. Caulfield's a left winger now. That's just how it is. Top line, Suzuki, Hoffman, Caulfield. I hate Hoffman's there, and I wish they would stop it. But you know, second line, and this is one they're going in the preseason, and I'm okay with a certain player being here instead of on the top line right away. That is two big boys and a boy band member being Kirby Doc, Uri Slavkovsky, and Rem Pitlick. That was pretty interesting, to be honest.
Wow, that's surprising.
I know.
That's like
Pitlick was kind of like, okay, all right. Kirby Doc, like this game. A little rusty there, but like Kirby Doc. Laid a really nice hit. Kirby, yum. Like the real Kirby, eating everything, getting powers. How's it going? Third line, Christian Dvorak, Evgeny Dadonov, and Brendan Gallagher. It's really funny. I had no idea where to put Dadonov or Gallagher. Dadonov is apparently a natural right winger despite being a lefty, but I just look at the right wingers and I'm like, I don't know where you want to put him, Marty. So he's the only on the left. They tried Gallagher at left wing last year for a bit, didn't work, so we're not going to do that. The fourth line, Jake Evans, Jonathan Drew, and Michael Pezzetta. Pezzetta's in right now because of injuries. Evans, if Monahan is healthy, I think Evans probably goes to the wing. Obviously, he played that in the playoffs before. And Jonathan Drew, and it's just, there's just so many spots right now. I had no idea where to put them. Defense is Mike Matheson and Justin Barry, which they've been running with. Chris Weidman is going to be also there. I have two guys playing with him because I think they're at least going to give Caden Gooley a shot, probably do the 9 games thing. But maybe then Schoeneman takes the spot. The thing with Gooley is, do you want him playing third pair of minutes? Or because I think he's 20. Yeah. I don't think he turns 21 until February, so I don't exactly understand whether he is eligible or not for the CHL. I get it confused. So would you rather either, and if he isn't, would you rather have him play real minutes in Laval or going back to Edmonton, I think, owns his rights? So that's the thing. And then Jordan Harris and David Savard. Harris also looking very good. And David Savard, like Mike Hoffman, I wish was not around, but he is.
Sorry, you had Harris with Savard?
Yes.
Okay. So I like that mix.
And by the way, apparently Schoeneman, Gooley, and Harris are all comfortable playing on the right in case Barron decides to not play properly. And then in that is the starter, Jake Allen, with Samuel Montembeault. Primo, stay in the AHL, get the confidence, get it going, and then come up. For the love of God, I am rooting for you. It's like Jonathan Drouin. I just keep saying it's going to pop. Those are my lines.
It's pretty funny that all your notes you had on Caden Primo, it's like the conversation never changed since, 2018, 2019, that it's just give him enough playing time in the AHL. Let's see what he does coming into training camp, and then it's the same thing again.
He's 19, 21, 22. He's a goalie. It takes a while.
And I imagine COVID didn't help.
Exactly.
Dealing with that development.
What one thing Bergeron was right with was they wanted to get him like 200 AHL games. There we go. All right, let's hear what you guys have.
I guess I'll go first. So obviously goalie Allen Montembeault. I get that. That was the easiest decision I made. Up front, I think I have it a little different than you, Adam. Obviously, fourth line, Drouin, Evans, Pezzetta. First line, though, I'm going all over the place, but I have Caulfield, Suzuki. But I have Gallagher next to them just because I'll tell you what. Because listen, I've been on the bandwagon of putting Caulfield, Suzuki, and Josh Anderson together, which was my plan before I found out Josh Anderson was injured a mere 15 minutes before we started recording.
Yeah,
that was on me. I just didn't think putting Slavkovsky there. I don't know if I'd throw him in that fire to start the season. I have then Dodonov, Dvorak, and Pitlick, Hoffman, Doc, and Slavkovsky to finish out the forward group. It's similar to yours. I think there's a few different pieces. I like Dodonov more than I like Hoffman, like just things like that. On the back end, again, Matheson and Barron. I have Harris and Savard, and then I have Gooley. I think you had Schooneman.
Gooley, Weidman, but Schooneman takes Gooley's spot after a 9-game stretch.
Oh, I have Gooley and Weidman.
Okay, fair enough. I like Gooley.
I do too.
Gooley's a good player. Good hair too. Daniel, how do you feel? The great thing about Montreal right now is we're all going to have different forward combinations. It's just like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
So yeah, goalies basically the same because there's not really any other choice. Like, who else am I going to pick?
I mean, Michael McNiven's not there, so I guess there's no pick there.
For me, I went with on the defensive pairs before I go to the forwards. I went with, you are going to do your best to develop, but just try to do the veteran young guy approach kind of thing. So I know he's struggling, but I put Justin Barron with Michael Matheson, just the way Michael Matheson's been playing the last few seasons and how he's been playing so far, I guess, in the one preseason game. And then I'll have Joel Edmondson with Jordan Harris. And then I had Kaden Gooley with Chris Weidman.
Okay. Who do you want to put in place of Edmondson in case he's out by the start of the season? Or do you have anyone specifically? Fairbrother had a nasty hit last night. So.
Yeah, I was thinking. Oh my gosh, the temptation to say that he was going to make the opening night roster. I almost did, but we'll see. I still believe.
Yeah, or right. maybe Arbery Jacka is just going to be like, you're going to give me a tryout, or I'm going to crush you against the boards.
I almost put Harvey Pinard in here, but when we were looking at the forwards, but I decided not to because smallish guy. I know he's getting a bit older, but I'll keep him in Laval for now. So I guess, again, I was kind of surprised by the Josh Anderson injury. So going with what I can in the first line. So I put Cole Caulfield, Nick Suzuki, and Rem Pitlick. And then I put Kirby Dach, Evgeny Donanov, and Brendan Gallagher. And then I actually put Jonathan Drouin, Christian Dvorak, and Juraj Slavkovsky. So probably Drouin on the right side. I don't know. I kind of feel like he should still play in the top 9. I know that really hasn't been there. And then for the fourth line, I have Michael Pezzetta, Jake Evans, and Yoel Armia.
Are you the only one of us who has Armia in, or Alex, did you have Big Joel in there?
No, I did not.
Okay. All right.
It was either him or Pezzetta, and it was Pezzetta.
Which, I mean, see, here's the thing, like, they have a real risk of losing Pezzetta the waivers, so it's that, or just be like, listen, Joel, just be like, it's a salary cap thing. You're getting waived. Because no one's going to take him. His contract is bad. But interesting. Just, me having Drouin on the fourth line isn't a your bad thing. It's just like, I don't know where else to put you. I thought of just going back to Dvorak, Drouin, Anderson, but I'm like, I don't need any more of that. I've seen it. I don't want it anymore. Then again, we haven't seen Marty St. Louis, Jonathan Drouin, but at some point, I've got to draw the line with Joe. And it's just like, I just don't know. I don't think he's earned this sort of, I'm going to put you in a prime time spot as of right now. It's not a personal thing. He knows I'm a fan of him. Got his jersey waiting to have it given back to me by Daniel. But hey,
to me, I wanted to put him on the second line, on my second line with Dodonov and Dvorak, but then it's like you look at what Pitlick did in the later stint with Montreal, and it's like, okay, I think it goes to your point of Drouin he didn't play at all last year, right?
He did play, but
Cool.
wasn't a ton. I think like back half of the year he was just done. Like
Right.
basically, to put it to you, I think he may have played like one game under Marty, if that.
Oh
Okay.
wow.
Yeah.
And so it's like not it's I still think he needs a spot in the lineup. I don't think he's
Oh
out.
yeah.
But again, I think there's other guys right now who I think have more so proved themselves. And like I get it, Duran hasn't been in a prime time position to prove themselves over the last couple of years. But it's just like I think you got to give the opportunities to the guys who have proved themselves on the ice that last stretch at the end of last season. And for me, that's why I had Rem Pitlick up there over him.
1920, he played 27 games. Last year, 44 of 56. But then last year of 82, he only played 34. 20 points in those games. So his point production is probably going to be pretty good under Marty St. Louis, you would think. And then who knows what he maybe looks like, maybe on like the second power play if they get that going. And then I don't know, like it's funny. The Support Athletic had a line of Druin, Dodonov, and Monahan, basically making it the trade deadline line.
Yeah.
Let's just boost everyone's value to get them going. Okay. To the Leafs. So these are the 3 injuries I am aware of. And if I'm wrong and if I'm forgetting someone, please let me know. Okay. Pierre Engvall is going to be reevaluated. I believe it's October 3rd.
Yeah.
With a lingering injury.
Sure. Yeah. That's what.
What? Okay.
Yeah. That's what they said. I have him in my lineup. Just
okay. Fine,
putting that out there.
Okay. Liljegren is out for, I think by now it's basically 5 weeks. It was 6 weeks last week, but do math, people, with a sports hernia. Muzzin is now skating, so you can probably put him in the lineup. Yeah. And John Tavares is out in a minimum of 3 weeks with an oblique strain.
Wish him the best.
Yes.
Okay, which is a shame because he looked like he was full of life in the preseason. Am I forgetting anyone else?
Not injury, but obviously Rasmus Sandin should include him, and he's not.
Fine! Hurry up!
He's not going to be in my lineup at the moment.
He's not in mine either.
Yeah. Which is tough because there's 2 guys in my lineup potentially that I do not want in there, but we can get to that.
Yeah. Then Alex, how about I went first for the Canadiens? How about you go first, then we'll go to Dan, and then I'll finish it off.
Sure. And I think the easiest combination here was the goalies, Murray and Samsonov. I mean, like we can have an argument about who starts. Listen, I'm kind of on Team Samsonov at this point. Listen, no, not based on the one game. Like, I mean, listen, okay? Samsonov should start against Montreal. I don't know. That's all I'm saying. Then it goes, I'll start up front. I think you keep Bunting, Matthews, Marner. I don't see any reason why you change that up. I'm going to save the second line until the end because I think
it's the juicy one.
It's the juicy one. Third line, I think this is a line, stemming from last year for the most part, replacing one part of it, keeping Engvall and Kampf on that line and adding Kalle Järnkrok, and who's essentially replacing Ilya Mikheyev, who unfortunate injured 4 weeks.
Yeah,
that sucks. I'd say for Vancouver. And then my fourth line. Now this is assuming that Zach Aston resigns. I have Zach Aston Reese, Adam Gaudette, and Nicolas Aube-Kubel as my fourth line.
The line of the 3 names.
Yeah, and Adam Gaudette. But yeah, like I think those are your lines, and then you obviously have so this is where it gets interesting. So I have Nylander obviously on the second line. I think that's the one name that's up for debate. Not up for debate, sorry. So obviously John Tavares is injured today. Now we need to figure out who on earth is second line center, which apparently caused mass hysteria on sports radio today. When I turned on the Fan 590 to hear them talking about talking about like someone like sent in a text message saying, why isn't Dennis Mulligan receiving any praise? And I'm like, okay, like calm down, text messenger. And then they got into like a debate about like Dennis Mulligan, and I'm like, guys, there's what to me it's a very easy answer to this question. And I know Adam, you don't like this. I mean, I don't know. You don't like him because he's still not traded yet. I know, but it's Alex Kerfoot. And I think it's so simple as if you look at what he's done as second line center in the past as to essentially replace John Tavares at times of injury, I think it's really hard not to say he's the guy that goes there. I can't really see an argument as to why he doesn't go there in the short term. Now I understand it's going to be painful. Like you're not going to get John Tavares production from Alex Kerfoot, and I'm not suggesting that, but you're asking for a short-term solution. And I believe that's going to be Alex Kerfoot. Now, this is where it gets actually really interesting. Who's going to be on the left wing? And this might be a really I think this is going to be a name that maybe we agree with, we might not agree with. I have Nick Roberts in there, and I'm not saying and I'll explain why. I don't have him as the long-term solution. I think once you bring John Tavares back, I think there's going to be some shuffling that's going to be done. Potentially that third line's going to look different. But to me, my second line, even if John Tavares is there, is Kerfoot, Tavares, Nylander. Besides the point, I think it wouldn't make sense to me to play Nick Robertson on the fourth line for obvious reasons. To me, it doesn't make sense to put Nick Robertson on the third line, as I don't think defense is his specialty. And I just think that's what that third line's there for. You're not putting Nick Robertson in that line to succeed if you're going to put him on that third line. And obviously you're not putting him on the first line right now with the way they performed last year. So that's my forward core. Any questions?
So can you say your fourth line again?
Zach Aston Reese, Adam Gaudette, and Nicholas Aubel-Kubel. So I don't even have Wayne Simmons or Kyle Clifford. They'll get their game time for sure. And I think it'll be, and it come playoff time, like who at the beginning of last season, or even when he was traded to Toronto, thought Kyle Clifford was playing a playoff game. Yeah, he got suspended and I absolutely loved it. But besides the point, like, listen, he got suspended, whatever. Like I saw worse hits that playoff that didn't get suspended. So fucking call me crazy.
You made me realize I forgot to put in Nikolai Aubel-Kubel on the rest of my line. So let me take out Wayne Simmons.
Okay. I'm gonna do my defense real quick. So we're missing Liljegren and we're missing Sandin. Right. So I'm going back to Riley Brody. I think without Liljegren, I think you go back to Riley Brody just because I really liked when they were together. I think it struggled at times, but when it worked, it worked. As my second pairing, I'm going Giordano Hall. That's a pairing that actually worked last year when Giordano came in. Now he got third pairing minutes, and we can have a discussion about how many minutes they're getting. But like, I think your second and third pair are pretty much getting identical minutes at this point. Riley and Brody will get the most. And then third pairing, this is where this one absolutely hurts. So I have Muzzin, obviously, because he's healthy.
Yeah,
I couldn't pick between Victor Mete and Jordy Ben. I won't lie. Like, I just like, what am I doing here? Like, there was no one else on the lineup that I'm like, you really have impressed me, and I can put instead of Jordy Ben or Victor Mete. Like, I'm not putting Carl Dahlstrom. Sorry, like, sorry, Carl Dahlstrom fans, just not happening. So it's one of them. Like, I guess if I had to pick, screw it, let's put Jordy Ben because he might punch a few people in the face. Like, I like that. Like, I don't know. And I know he can play on the right because Cap Friendly says he can. So that's good enough for me.
I don't remember if he ever did in Montreal, but I try to forget anything about Jordy Ben. To be
As
honest.
do I.
Go ahead, Daniel.
All right. Do I have to keep my second line a mystery as well towards the end, or can I just say it?
Yes.
Keep it a mystery?
Yeah, keep it a mystery.
All right. For first line, the anchor line. it's the same thing. Hasn't changed. For my third line, this is the one that gets interesting. So I have Dennis Mulligan.
Oh
Oh God.
David Kampf, and Alex Kerfoot. So either Kerfoot plays on the
Wow.
left or probably the left, or it might be the center. We'll see.
Who
Probably
the
David
hell
Kampf stays the
is your
center.
who is your second line center? Well, we'll find out, but
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
So-
Play.
I think I wanted more to know where Pierre Engvall is, but that's fine.
So Nicholas Abu-Kabel, Adam Gaudette, and Wayne Simmons is my fourth line. I wanted to keep Wayne in there, I think, just for the opening night, see how it goes, see if he could bounce back. And I don't know, like, it was, for me, I don't want to just have like the quote unquote, like, skilled fourth line. I wanted like a bit of a balance still there.
Oh yeah, no. If I see a skilled fourth line, something's gone horribly wrong.
Memories of oh my gosh, I forgot
Andreas
his name.
Janssen and Kasperi Kapanen on the fourth line.
Yes, and I
Brian
don't know.
Boyle.
Adam mentioned him before earlier. What was his name again?
Ty Ratty. No,
no, Nick Patan. There you go.
oh God.
All right, so it's pretty obvious who the first defensive pairing is: Morgan Riley, Jordy Ben.
Wait, are you serious?
I'm kidding. I'm still gonna.
I would have lost it. If I see that opening night, I'm gonna lose it.
So
I think I think you still got to keep the Riley, Brody. I think that's just the most consistent, especially when you're dealing with injuries. I think it's the same as the forwards. For my second pairing, I actually did have Jake Muzzin with Justin Hall. I think is just, again, going back to what you had before and seeing if, maybe it works again. I think Justin Hall had a bit of a redemption here and there. He wasn't, like when he had that horrible streak, he wasn't as bad the entire rest of the season. So we'll see, because
and here and there is like minutes of the game, right? Not in games as a whole.
For the third pairing again, because I had to go around the injury. So Mark Giordano, and then I actually had either a Victor Mete or a Mac Holloway.
Don't do that to Mark Giordano. Don't hurt the man.
So I think either of those, and then Jordy Ben is probably the seventh defenseman.
Hey, guys, come on. That is former top pair defenseman, Victor Mete.
Of
back
course,
with his time with Shea Weber. Let us never forget. And continue.
All right.
I think that's it, right?
No, my second line. I didn't say my second line.
You saved it till the very end.
Say the center last, please.
Yeah,
it's by process of elimination. So Nick Robertson, William Nylander, Kalle Jornkruk.
Oh, okay.
Wait,
I had him as second line center in my first draft, but I changed it.
Wait, so is Pierre Engvall injured in your reality as well?
Oh, he's injured in my reality. Yeah. He still has the on daily faceoff. He still has the Red Cross.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair.
Okay. I also have Pierre Engvall off my list. Which made it a little saucy. I have Matt Murray as the starter. Yeah,
you just want to face Matt Murray.
I mean, it's just like it's Samsonov and Murray. No offense, but it's just sort of like they're both roller coaster goalies. Like whatever. My defense pairing, and I will show you as proof. It is Jordy Ben and Morgan Riley. Because I deserve.
Do you have Riley playing on the right?
Yeah.
Dear heavens, he does not play on the right. We tried that before. That didn't work.
Listen, he'll still be better than Jordy Ben. Give Jordy a chance. #. I've reunited the pairing that won Mark Giordano the Norris Trophy, and I put it with TJ Brody. Because I want to reunite Sheldon Keefe's safety blanket of Justin Hall and Jake Muzzin.
I hate you.
Because I thought he wanted to. I just thought of like I saw when Alex sent the thing that Ben was getting a look, and I'm like, I have to. I have to. I'm just gonna give you my second line first because it's
okay.
It as well as is Nylander. Kerfoot is the center. I had Yarncroke and I moved it. I did have Nick Robertson. Just because I just didn't know who else to put.
Right.
And I was like, now or never, kid. Even though that's an exaggeration. But I just kind of thought, I'm like, who is going to benefit the most being there? And I thought, Zach Aston-Reese, no. Gaudette, no. I would rather have Yarncroke in the bottom six. Joey Anderson. I just didn't think there was a player who sort of would work as well with the rest of them than Nick Robertson. That was sort of the way I looked at it. My third line is the sort of defensive lovers, David Kampf, Calle Yarncroc, and Zach Aston Reese. Again, I really like the Zach Aston Reese PTO, and I hope he signs. My fourth line, sorry, is it was Wayne Simmons because I forgot Nikolai Abe-Kubel existed. So Abe-Kubel is the right winger. The center is Adam Gaudette because I saw on Cap Friendly he played center apparently, and I didn't know who else to put there. And my left winger, because I didn't know anyone else, I put Joey Anderson. Yes, Joey Anderson. Also, we have to remind everyone: can Josh Anderson and Jake Muzzin finally drop the gloves? We're all waiting for it. So please get that done. But yeah, those are the lines. Jordy Ben and
I have a question because I wasn't sure about it when I was making these lines, but is Nicholas Abruzzese, he's going to play with the Marlies, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if the Dynasty wanted him to be on the second line or something, then that's your prerogative.
I'm
but,
good.
You know.
No. I will say, just to go off what you said about Josh Anderson and Jake Muzzin, there's two fights I want to see in my life. That one and Joe Thornton and Nikolai Ehlers. I will never forget the documentary. Ever.
Yeah,
I will never forget.
I'm embarrassed for you. A legendary line. A legendary line. But now we can talk about maybe some legendary careers.
Yes.
And I think of these three that retired, I think the most prolific one is Zdeno Chara. A nightmare for Habs fans and Leafs fans equally. The nightmares of Senators fans for going after Wade Redden, keeping him instead of Zdeno Chara. The Islanders for giving up on him. Pretty sure that was Mike Milbury. You'll love to see it. You just sort of look at Zdeno Chara just quickly. Obviously a Norris Trophy. 680 points, by the way. That is about 500 more games than Keith Yandel played. And I mentioned points because I wanted to give some respect to Keith Yandel later. A Stanley Cup champion, obviously. A tremendously respected leader. A fitness monster. I think it's over 1,500 games played. Maybe around 1,600. To the respect where even the Bell Center gave him a standing ovation a couple of years ago. Remember that? The Bell Center. He broke Pacioretty's neck there on accident, obviously, but that's the sort of level of respect that Zdeno Chara get. I think the moment you get him in the Hall of Fame, not just for the player he was, but sort of proving that a big man can still play defense in the new age. There's a reason everyone looks at the big guy and it's like that's the new Zdeno Chara. A lot of respect for him. Can never cheer for him because he was a Bruin, but hell of a career for Zdeno Chara. First ballot Hall of Famer in my opinion, at least.
For sure. Like literally, he was. I want to call him an anomaly, but like in a good way.
Oh yeah,
in a good way. Like, well, I mean, not in a good way for us, but like in a good way for whatever team he was on, and just always a problem. And like he did his job and like that's what he did. And at the top of his game, like, oh my God, I would not want to play against Zdeno freaking Chara. Like just huge. And like multiple years going against Zdeno Chara in the playoffs were not fun to watch.
I like that word you use, anomaly, because I think about that too, where, you know, in addition to the size, in addition to the shot, there is that longevity there where he's literally played from the late 90s towards the modern NHL, where he has bridged arguably two types of hockey and still maintained that consistency there. It's just weird that like you always think of Zdeno Chara as a fixture, I think, like in your fandom as both Habs and Leafs fans, that it's like that guy's always going to be there in a way. I remember, and I know this is like not of one of the biggest memories, but I just remember when he played in the World Cup of Hockey in 2016, where, you know, in a naive way, I thought, okay, this is probably his last year. This guy's 39. This guy's 39. Like he's not going to play anymore. And he still managed to score. He scored on Canada. He still led Team Europe to. Oh no, Slovakia had their own team, right? No, they didn't.
I think he may have been on Team Europe because I think remember that game only Bruins scored because Bergeron.
Oh
and Marchand
yeah,
right?
oh yeah, Gaborik was also on the Team Europe because they're both Slovakian. Okay, so yeah, I just always gonna remember that, and Still weird to me. He finished his career. I mean, like he finished off as an Islander. So a weird come full circle thing. But yeah, it's just like playing for the Sens, playing for the Bruins throughout my childhood and towards being an adult. That's I'm always gonna remember as he's the guy. It's like, man, I really don't want to like you, but you're way too good that I just can't ignore it.
Always hated the fact that no, not hated. I Zdeno Chara is one of the reasons I love the hardest shot competition. I'll never forget the year he traded with Weber going hardest. And what was it? I think Weber did a 108.5 and then Chara hit a 108.8, but I think it's still the record. I love stuff like that. And he was just like, he was a good dude, too. Remember, he was one of the few players that actually went to Black Lives Matter rallies after the George Floyd stuff. I remember he was actually out in the community doing stuff. And God, he was a Bruin. He bled gold, that guy. Just a hell of a career. It's funny, Daniel, what year were you born again? Just out of curiosity. Because
Me?
I was born in 99. Yeah, what year were you born?
I'm born 93.
93. Okay. So Daniel was 3 years old when Zdeno Chara was drafted. I was
Wow.
-3. Alex was -4. So, you know. By the way, Slovakia. I want to mention this. Tomek Tatar had a nice moment with Philip Mešar and Uriah Slafkovsky last night in the preseason game. Slovakian guys. I just wanted to mention that quickly. Good moment. But obviously, Zdeno Chara, hell of a career, my friend. Hell of a. Well, I wish he was my friend. Okay. Next, Keith Yandel. A guy who, again, we're going to talk about PK Subban in a minute here. Keith Yandel, more points than PK Subban, only has less points than Chara, despite Chara playing hundreds of more games there. 619, peak of his performance. Keith Yandel was an offensive juggernaut. The Iron Man streak that will probably get broken by Phil Kessel. Knock on wood, and I'm knocking on my desk. But, I mean, when he was at his top of his game, holy crap, Keith Yandel was a force too. Not a physical force, but that guy was a puck mover before it really sort of came into you need everyone to be able to move the puck. It just sucks he was a Coyote for so long, but I loved Keith Yandel. I loved watching Keith Yandel.
Yeah, and I think for me, it was tough these last few years where all the headlines for Keith Yandel were just constantly negative. Because if you go back to when he was in Florida, like his streak was almost broken, and then the players had to go in and say, no, the streak's not going to be broken. And then he signs in Philly, and then it's like, well, we're going to break the streak. And the way they did it,
yeah, that was
Saturday night against Toronto, like, that's going to go poorly. Like,
yeah.
Right. Yeah. And it did. And it did. And you just look at the player he was in his prime and just how good he was. It was just so unfortunate the way the headlines were written in the extreme back end of his career.
Mm-hmm. What's nice is, at least through that stuff with the streak being broken, I think you got to see how good of a teammate he was. The fact that the Panthers had to be like, no. And then when he scored that first game, when he sort of got into that game, how happy his teammates were, and sort of how Kevin Hayes was so distraught that the streak was broken, and how the team felt responsible for it. It shows that he's just a good dude too.
What I liked about it was, and I like to, for Keith Yandel's sake, I'd like to just look back on the good years in a way. I know that things didn't work out with the tail end of the Florida contract. He didn't really work out too well when he went to the Flyers. And I like that he was such a consistent guy. He was a late round pick, I believe in the 4th round in 2005, I believe, with the Coyotes. He stuck things through, and he was that centerpiece, like that blockbuster trade. Remember when the Rangers were doing all those types of trades? And they got Keith Yandel for a reason. And I liked how consistent he was. I know like the defensive game didn't really translate too well later on, but I like to remember Keith Yandel for that, where he was an all-star level player. he did his best, stayed healthy, and okay, there's one thing too. Is just I think he played at a time where the Coyotes were not really having the best success, and he still stuck things through. I know we
Hmm.
could say the same thing for a lot of players right now for the
Yeah,
Coyotes,
I
but
was gonna say what era of Coyotes are we talking about?
but I think he played there before. I like to say the initial hope of building a roster. So I think that's something to really look at, and man, like I still liked watching him play.
Oh yeah. And to finish off the trio of retirements, one that obviously means a lot to me as a fan, PK Subban, a Norris Trophy, 467 points. Feels like he should have more, but the injuries really caught him at the end there. An Olympic gold medalist, a true character in the game in the best of ways, a playoff performer, controversial in ways. And again, the newest episode of the Support Athletic from Arpin Basu and Mark Antoine Godin, they talk about covering Subban. And so there's some stuff to do with the relationship with the Canadiens and how that initial donation he made, the $10 million pledge, and not telling the team about it, which I think was probably the beginning, or the arbitration stuff was the beginning of the end. But uh, interesting to sort of look at his time in Montreal. I hope they do something to recognize his career. Um, at least remember how Jack Eichel was sort of celebrated by the Buffalo community
Mhm.
instead of by the Sabres themselves. I hope, and this is going to be a Jeff Molson decision, the Canadians can do something for PK. Maybe with Mark Bergevin being gone, it's a lot easier to do. But what he did for the community, how much he meant to the fan base, I hope PK gets a sort of real return and patching up with the Canadians because hell, he has some of, I've said this so many times, the most electric Hab I have watched in my lifetime. Caulfield may surpass that soon, but PK Subban was just a joy to watch.
On and off the ice.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Like I think that's like the biggest, not obviously not the biggest point to point out, but I think his personality off the ice was so, we'll call it controversial. I don't like calling it controversial because I think calling it controversial puts really shows how down in the dumps the NHL is in terms of player personality. But like I just think that it was so good for the game. The way he played and how he was off the ice was so positive for the game. It was just unfortunate to me the way things ended in Montreal. And then like after that, it was just it was unfortunate. But once he left Montreal, it felt to me that his career kind of took a downhill trajectory. I mean, other than the first year or two in Nashville.
You know what's maybe polarizing is a better word to use.
Yes.
I had somebody that just hit me as you said that. He had one good year afterwards.
Yep.
The first year in Nashville, because that's when they went to the Cup final. Stop me if you've heard this before. Uh, Goes to the Cup final, comes short, and their body just sort of falls apart. Talk about that Shea Weber trade, and of course, what looked like PK Subban's closest friend in the league, Carey Price. It's weird how sort of the history rhymes, repeats itself, however you want to put it. Just
So
that just sort of
I,
hit my mind for a second.
I
There.
thought you were talking about Erik Karlsson for a second, but no,
Ah, oh, no,
that's where I
don't
thought
do
you
that
were
to me. He's back.
going. Okay.
Please, he's back.
All right.
Go ahead, Daniel. Oh,
I know what you mean, Alex, when you said controversial. Like for me, in a way, it's like unconventional, and for me, it's really weird that he's retiring. I know that there's a lot of the injuries. A lot of that was going on. We saw that in his play, especially towards the end in Nashville. And when I say it's weird for me that he's retiring, it's because when I use that word unconventional, it's because when he came into the league and then he started dominating, I felt like he was exactly the type of player the NHL needed. Like it was a breath of fresh air. Like he was someone that this this league definitely needs. I think they still need a lot of guys like PK Subban, someone who is really like I think gets a lot of criticism that's unnecessary. That I think he proved his game. He was a star and then he was an all-star for quite some time. And I think that like when he doesn't go along the line of things, I think he- like it's hard to define like what is that line because I think he's proven it both on and off the ice, like you guys said, that he was part of the community, he did his best, and I think it's just the way he celebrates. Like it's something you see in other sports, and I've been on this topic a lot of times too. That happens in a lot of sports, and just to have him there, I think is something that I hope like the league embraces a lot more. That I think when you see younger players come in and want to be a player that may be the role model, I think PK Subban should still be that beacon of what a player could be beyond the rink.
He was ahead of his time.
Yeah.
If he had started in the league a few years ago, he'd be everywhere. He was just ahead of his time, and I think he was with the worst general manager, a polar opposite in some ways, but at the same time, someone who was jealous of PK was Marc Bergevin because didn't like the suits. When they went to the finals, what was Marc Bergevin wearing? A bright suit, doing commercials, getting his own McDonald's burger, like hypocritical was
I didn't know
Marc
about the
Bergevin.
McDonald's burger. I didn't know about
Yeah,
that.
it happened. It was the year that Carbonneau went into the Hall of Fame, and there was this commercial like Carbonneau like, I'm gonna get a burger, and Bergevin's like, nope, I get a burger. It's like, okay, cool, nice to see you, Berge, but just awful. But this is about PK. A hell of a career. Now he's gonna go be a broadcaster. My bet's on ESPN because he's already doing First Take before. Um, hell of a career, hell of a career, and you left the game in a better shape than you left it. And you know what? Um, I think what rubbed people the wrong way was he saw himself as someone who had the chance to play hockey. He didn't think of himself as purely a hockey player. And I wonder if there are just some guys that are so much purest hockey players that they refuse to see more than just the game. I wonder if that's just a sort of issue with the culture itself. But I think that was his biggest downfall was just sort of he was too big for the game as a personality, which is a shame. I think in a few years people are really going to notice sort of they sort of took too much advantage of PK and didn't appreciate him in his time. But again, hopefully the Habs do something for him because I really think he deserves it for his play. I mean, he was a Norris Trophy winner. He was insane.
Yeah.
And a finalist another year. He was really good. Okay. Now we have a few more things to finish off here. First off, kind of news of the day, to be honest. Spencer Knight is extended in Florida 3 years. The AAV is 4.5. I'd like to double check something, but I believe Baumgartner tweeted out that I'm going to double check this so I don't get Bomber's words wrong. But if you look at Florida's cap friendly, both Sergei Bobrovsky and Spencer Knight, their contracts are up at the same time. Obviously, Bobrovsky will be a UFA, an RFA for Mr. Spencer Knight. Maybe a rich deal right now. Maybe. I think they paid a little more than they had to.
So, again, should be noted, starts next season, not this season.
Yeah.
I listen. I'm not gonna lie. I don't entirely understand it. With 36 games played. I didn't really get you remember last summer, or it was last summer or 2 summers ago, we had Cal Peterson. Who else? Last summer, okay, Cal Peterson, maybe Merzlikins, but there was like Cal Peterson, Ville Husso, and someone else. Or was Ville Husso this year? Like there's a group of goalie contracts where I don't necessarily get. And it's like you've played extremely minimal amount of games and you're getting $4.5-5 million. Like maybe I'm just not understanding the market for goalies. Like to me, okay, well, Igor Shesterkin makes $5 million. Yeah, go look at Igor Shesterkin.
It's almost okay. I'll say Shesterkin's not quite the same because Shesterkin. Oh, sorry, no. Let me. Because Shesterkin was just like, because what is he? He has the richest second deal in goalie history.
Well, he's making 5.6.
I know what you mean. It's like a thing of 1As are getting like 4 to 5 million. Bs are making like 2 or 3. And then you just sort of have like Bobrovsky, Price, Vasilevsky, which are kind of like the elites of the elites. Hellebuck is, and then you have the sort of middle ground, like they're elite, but they're not the absolute best or within like the $6 or $7 million range. But like the guys getting those $4 or $5 million,
I don't
doesn't
understand.
feel like maybe it's because like the short head like because of the lack of goalies out there. It's sort of a thing of what's the thing in Canada? We have like our phone players are so garbage in that because there's not enough competition.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just there's not enough competition in the goalie world. But the goalie market and contract sets are very strange. Very strange.
Like Shesterkin, fine. He played 47 games in the NHL when he got that second deal. He had
Mhm.
a 932 and a 916 in those 2 seasons.
That's not bad.
So yeah, we got to keep in mind with him, like he's a bit older. He's had a lot more experience before he became a full-time NHL.
He
Oh, not
played in the
full-time.
KHL,
But
didn't he?
yeah, but
Yeah,
he's 26 right now.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing, and I think like just with that experience alone, I think that warrants the contract. For me, like it's weird because I remember looking before the extension, just how Florida's gonna afford everything. Like they have Patrick Hornquist coming off the books at 5.3, but essentially that money goes now to Spencer Knight, and that tandem is what four? It's gonna be 14.5 million up until wow. So both their contracts end at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
2025, 2026. So that's another thing to figure out there as well. I don't know. Like I always think about this because I still think Spencer Knight as the hyped guy. Like he was the guy that they're gonna hype to see. Like this is the next franchise goalie,
You have it
and
out for him.
I don't have it out for him. I just,
Yeah, you do.
I just think it is pretty rich, and there was really no rush to kind of give him this type of deal, especially right now where what are you going to do now if he actually does play a lot better? You're going to have a $10 million backup in Sergei Bobrovsky.
See, I was going to defend the $14 million thing because I did the same thing for Price and Allen. But
Yeah, but you did that for a year.
Yeah, because then
Like,
Allen signed his extension right away, didn't he? Yeah. It is the thing the Daniel sort of changed my mind. Like there is emotion saying a $10 million
like,
backup. That's tough. It's tough.
like the thing is okay. So their window, I guess, is is multiple years. So you can look at, I don't know if you saw what Friedman and Rory Boylan posted literally just before we started recording something about some type of projections for the salary cap. I'm just going to pull this up real quick. But like to me is we've had the discussion about Florida where they didn't get better defensively this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think they got worse.
Yeah, they got worse, and they added Paul Maurice, which again, like that combination doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense to me. So I have it here. So what Friedman and Boylan were saying is next year the cap's going to go up again by another million, and what we could potentially see in 2024, 2025 is a bump to 87.5 to $88 million. And then so 2023, 2024, which is next season, not this season, next season.
Yep.
We're going to get 83.5. So another bump by $1 million.
Yep.
What we could possibly see the season after 24, 25 is 87.5 to $88 million. That's the salary cap. Year after that. So the year after that, this is now a year before, the year before these two contracts end, 2025, 2026, approximately it could go to $92 million.
Oh, God.
So that's a big jump. But sorry, I guess the point I was trying to make is you have these 2 years where the cap is still this year and next year where the cap is, I would argue, stagnant, and you have and you're in the middle of your window. So, but your defense, like again, like where are you adding? How are you doing all this is like my question. Like, what am I missing an injury? Someone's going on LTIR. Like, how are you getting better from last year? I think is the question. Cool. You added Matthew Tkachuk. You now replace Jonathan Huberdeau. I'd argue in a sense they're similar. maybe not in play style, but in general, how good they are amongst the league. And you've extended that window, but how are you getting better?
You forgot two crucial players.
Who am I missing?
Who?
The possibility of the return of the Stahl brothers, just a different iteration because it's not Jordan, it's Mark with Eric this time.
You know, if I can try and think of Florida's perspective, and they acknowledge that they're worse in the short term with Kachuk, sorry, with the Kachuk trade, right? Maybe Florida see it as a window of they're going to take a few years to be a playoff team, but not true contenders, and then sort of reshape the way they're reshape the team because like the thing with Hornquist is him going and he was a guy who's going to fall off, and then maybe you got Bennett there, and then like you take a few years for Lundell to get even better because what a star he was last year. I'm just trying to think of maybe where Florida are coming with on this. Not to mention, at the end of it, you have him locked up to a point where you still control his rights by the time Bobrovsky's up, and if he plays well, then you all of a sudden have the money to lock up a goaltender who potentially is going to be the starter for the rest of his career, which I am a fan of. Beside that, to the thing of defense, I don't know. Their pipeline very well because and even with picks, it's like, but then even doing the short term fix is like they don't have any firsts.
Well, yeah,
So it's sort of like
that's the biggest thing, and
that means
that's not just a short term fix though either. That's also a longer term fix too, where everyone talks about you're drafting in the first round, and in Florida's case, they're still going to make the playoffs. They're a playoff team to me, but now you don't have your first round pick. Now everyone loves to talk about it with Toronto's, and I partially agree with that. So I'm going to bring it up here as well. You're giving up your first round picks. And when in 3 to 4 years, when these guys are now making the NHL, how are you replenishing your cupboard? And that's the question that's going to be asked when you have no first round picks, when you're making reality is a lot of question marks from rounds 2 to 7. Like, I think a lot of people would argue that the chances of them hitting are low. So I'm not trying to pick on Florida. I'm just asking the question, how are you going to replenish your cupboard, and where are you going to get better defensively, especially in the next 2 years, this year and next year, in the middle of your window, no first round picks. And I just don't know there. And maybe they have someone in the cupboard. I don't know, but I'm just asking the question.
I was checking, like I'm not as well versed with their prospect system either, but to be honest, like these are guys that they might be good, but they're really young. None of them were first round picks, and we'll see what happens. Maybe they'll do something. We'll swing a trade, get someone on the open market. But as of right now, I think their defense, like I cannot trust it.
No, and I'm just looking at some of the names now, and they're just they're fellas, an aging Radko Gudas. Like Montour is a fine addition they made, and then it's sort of like what they have to do is do what they did with Gustav Forsling, basically, and they're gonna have to do like the Pittsburgh motto we joke about is they're gonna have to nail free agent signings from the college system, scour your sort of diamonds in the roughs of the draft, get lucky with reclamation projects maybe in free agency because with the way the cap is, you should have mentioned that all that money for Hornquist going straight to Spencer Knight is then sort of having to rely on guys with ELCs or get bargain bins at free agency. I get, I'm just trying to think the position that Bill Zito is in. Like, again, you lock up a young goaltender for a couple of years and still have control, which is fine. But then again, it's at the same time, though, if they had made the conference finals, for example, I think it's a different conversation. But the fact that they won a single round and didn't win a single game in the second round, and then you look at everything they gave up. Yeah, it's just tough to see the way the Panthers are going to rebuild themselves. It is. I say we move on from here, though. I think we covered some good points there. It's just Florida. It's going to be, and you know what? I have it making the playoffs too. It's not going to be easy. If they falter for a few weeks, there are no easy games in the Atlantic this year. There are not going to be any, not a single one. unless Jake Allen and Mountain Bow get hurt and Kane Primo's in. Then it's like, well, Montreal come in and give away 2 points. Anyway, if we look at other places in the league, let's talk about another contract. Nathan MacKinnon is the highest paid player in the NHL. So he is barely, yeah, by 100,000 annually. 8 years is the deal. 12.6 million is the AAV. It's worth 100,800,000, which is funny. $85 million of it is in signing bonuses. It's a full no movement for the entire contract. I mean, listen, let's just cap percentages. It's a fair contract. It's good. Let's get that out of the way. Deal. I mean, what can we say? It's like, listen, are we going to criticize it for not taking it? Listen, people say he took a discount here. No, he didn't.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
No, he didn't. He's the highest paid player in the league.
He could have absolutely gotten more. He could have
14. I thought he was going to have 14.
He could have absolutely gotten more here.
I like Nate Dogg, but come on.
No. But Adam, here's the thing. Okay, if we're using the argument of cap percentage and stuff, but you okay, how many players make more than Sidney Crosby? He makes 8.7. Okay, now you can look at Connor McDavid, $12.5 million, which, by the way, again, underpaid.
It's good.
Underpaid. I still think Nathan MacKinnon, Nathan MacKinnon's he's the third or fourth best forward in this league.
Yeah, he's up there.
Yeah, top five.
He's in the group with Sid, with Matthews, with McDavid, with Draisaitl. Yeah, right. He's up there.
Like, he's a top 5 forward in the league. He is.
Yeah.
Oh, like, again, we can have the debate on who's better, Makar or MacKinnon. I'd also argue he's pretty much a top 5 player in the league. Like, yeah, he deserves all the damn money. Like, I don't care what that guy in Dallas has to say. Like, he deserves all the damn money.
Look, I guess I'm not saying he's not worth $12.6 million.
No, I know.
I'm just gonna poke fun at the point that he said, "Yo, I'll take less." I mean, maybe you did for what was being offered, but I'm like, I don't think anyone expected it to be like $9 million or something. No. But that wasn't gonna happen. I like Nate Dogg. I was the one a couple of years ago being like, yeah, I better than McDavid. And then
I remember those days.
McDavid in the playoffs. Yeah, I do too.
A couple of years ago, like less than 12 months ago.
But I mean, according to the Dom Luszczyszyn model, it should be 16.2 million.
That doesn't mean anything to me. That doesn't mean anything to me. Like, I don't get the point of that, because it's just anyway. I don't get his model. Like, I don't know the point of that.
It's because everyone in the NHL is underpaid.
100%. But yeah, good for MacKinnon. I mean, I don't know if there's too much to say. He'll be a lifetime which is right. He shouldn't play anywhere else. And yeah, he won the cup, so it doesn't matter what they do now. They won the cup, so you're good. You're fine. You're good.
So I don't remember. I'm pretty sure we said it on the show, but we were having this conversation when it was still up in the air. His contract extension was still up in the air, probably before they were even allowed to talk. But I think we all automatically assumed that now, with Eric Johnson off the books next year, every single cent of his deal was going right to Nathan MacKinnon. Pretty much spot on. Like, we couldn't have been more spot on.
So MacKinnon exactly doubled his deal, because it was 6.3 before.
Yeah.
So Johnson, was like 6? So there's just the $300,000 that he just dropped in the penny there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The sacrifice of a first overall pick for another first overall pick.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Has to happen. Okay, going to the Flyers to finish off here. I feel so
I am
bad
sad for the Flyers.
I feel so. First off, okay, Ryan Ellis.
We love him.
Basically, it looks like he's done for the season. Questions about the career. So he has a torn psoas muscle, I believe is how you pronounce it, in his back, which is affecting a whole ton of parts of his abdomen, basically. There's a hip component. There's there are words I have never seen in my life. Basically, this is the very rare injury Chuck Fletcher was telling the media, GM of the Flyers, obviously. Very complicated. And he's never really seen it before. And there is something where it doesn't really require. Sure, it's not just you fix one area. It sounds like it is. It is just so unlikely. It looks like Ryan Ellis is going to play again. Sean Couturier. Now it was reported. I believe somebody in Philly. Hold on. Olivia Ryder, who's a beat reporter there, said there's going to be an update given tomorrow by Chuck Fletcher on Sean Couturier. Now Renaud Lavoie said apparently the timetable may actually be 3 to 4 weeks. But there's a lot in the air right now. Obviously, it's a back injury, so who knows? But remember, like a week ago, it was so he may miss a few weeks, or it could be the season. We're like, whoa, hold on a minute, what are we doing there? How? Backs complicated. First off, Ryan Ellis. I mean, like that is besides just sort of that we have laughed at the Flyers plenty, but Ryan Ellis may be losing his career. I mean, you talk about a guy who went sort of just his like injuries have really taken a toll. That guy was, when there were rumors about maybe him and Nashville were going to get it done, everyone was going to jump on him. I remember the rumor. People, the Leafs are going to get. I was terrified. I'm like, what if they got him? That's going to be awful. But it was like Ryan Ellis it was always that thing with Nashville's defense at one point where Weber, Ellis, Ekholm, Yossi, and then it became Subban and Yossi and Ekholm and Ellis back in the day. And even when that trade happened to Philly, we were like, fantastic Philly.
Yeah.
Now we clearly did not look too much into his injuries because we were bad on that. But first off, how horrible for Ryan Ellis. I hope he can just function because that sounds
brutal.
It just hockey players.
Yeah. No, it's unfortunate the way things turned out, especially for that trade. I mean, we were quite complimentary of
it's been bad for all teams.
And it's been bad for all teams. Like Nashville, who was it that Nashville got from that?
They got Ryan McDonough out of it, didn't they? Technically.
Oh, right. They did. Yes. Okay, fine.
So at the time, they gave up Philip Myers?
Philip Myers and Nolan Patrick.
Who isn't playing this year, so he might be done too.
And Cody Glass. What's Cody Glass? Glass
the Milwaukee Admirals.
Right. So it's just unfortunate. It has not worked out for any team in this trade, which is like, when was the last time we said that ever?
Yeah.
Especially with a deal of that magnitude. That was like one of the only three-team trade, like proper 3-team trades. Like not this here retain 50% and then move on, like proper 3-way trades we've seen in the NHL. So I think that received a lot of buzz, and it was unfortunate it didn't work out. With Sean Couturier, it's like, man, like if there's a guy, like if there's a guy I'd imagine John Tortorella wants around, it's Sean Couturier.
Oh yeah.
And it's unfortunate. Like again, hopefully it's not 6 weeks or the season. Like maybe we can have a better timeline than 6 weeks or the season. That'd be nice. But I think that's a guy you want around.
Mm-hmm. I definitely think that. I think with the Flyers still figuring out what they wanted to do, you want someone who is a proven leader, someone who could, pick up the slack of the scoring in Sean Couturier, where I think he does make up for a lot of the shortcomings that the Flyers have had. I don't know. I just I know that people do look at the Flyers and think about, okay, what were they doing? What were they doing with the trades? I'm still thinking about why they got Tony DeAngelo, especially the way last season ended up. And it's funny because like we always talk about like them adding from last season, like, okay, you can't keep doing that, and they kept doing it. But at this point, the way I'm seeing the injuries, the way things have been going, like I just kind of feel for the franchise, to be honest, because it was already going to be a rough year, but there's just this added cloud around them now of just there's so much uncertainty.
The league is better when the Philadelphia Flyers are good. You know what I mean? Like that's a franchise that I think we talked about this before, that the Flyers for the past couple of years, like even like a decade, have just sort of been like it's up and down, messy. What are they doing? And now it's just sort of they don't have Claude Giroux anymore.
Yeah.
new era thing. Voracek's gone. And then you would think maybe moves to like your Provorovs and that. But what's his future now? Because Jeff Merrick's always talked about they want to see him play with Ellis. Well, Ellis may not play again. So what do you do there? And it's just sort of like
And they're
if
not
Couturier's gone.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's sort of like Van Riemsdyk will probably be gone after this summer. And then it's just pace. And sort of I just don't the sort of core of that team has just been ripped to shreds. And listen, the Flyers are definitely to blame for some of the moves. Tony DeAngelo was inexcusable. And I am not even going to mention the off the ice stuff with him, but just the style of play, and we've talked about everything to death with that team. But it's just sort of like the Couturier stuff. I cannot blame them. I know people were saying they signed the contract. What were you going to do? Not sign Sean Couturier?
You couldn't not
Doesn't the guy
sign
have
Sean
Yeah.
Couturier.
Yeah, like Sean. Did he win a Selkie? He must have.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, so
He won one.
he's a Selkie win. Like, come on, we're good. You're not going to not sign Sean Couturier. Calm down. Ryan Ellis, criticize if you want for what they gave up at the time. A fair bet to make. All right, fair enough. Because you look up Ellis's contract and maybe but I mean, come on. I'm going to be like, at the time we liked it, so I'm not going to go back to my word there.
No one knew they were going to turn Philip Myers into Ryan McDonough. All right, like let's calm down.
I think we just with Ryan Ellis. I think it's the same thing we talk about Sean Couturier is like that model of consistency and maturity that I think the Flyers really needed, especially when you only have your veteran in Sean Couturier who's been there the longest. You trade Claude Giroux. I think he was just gonna be someone, especially with the way his contract was, just that calming presence you need, especially when the Flyers are stacking up a lot of the young guys that they're still trying to develop.
Mm-hmm. And now they have guys passed out on the ice with John Tortorella running intense drills right now.
Yeah.
It is going to be a rough year to be a Flyer. It's going to be a rough year. Maybe that his teams play hard because they just sort of express the anger they feel towards Tortorella on their opponents. Maybe. Anyway, that's it for us today. Everything has happened. In fact, guys, let's go on Twitter and see.
I have a question for you guys because I did not realize this was still a thing. Because I was looking for something on the Score and I came across this article. The article I don't think matters, but did you know that this is actually the final year of Matt Dumba's contract?
I remember that, and apparently the Wild can't re-sign him. I mean, this is the third time we've had this talk. Yeah,
so that's the thing is, I feel like for the last 3 years we've talked about them trading Matt Dumba and
they have it.
It's like, here's what's funny.
I thought he was in the final year of his contract for like 2 years now. I will not lie, the way we were talking about him.
It feels like he's been an expiring contract since Vegas came into the league.
Yes.
Like they have moved heaven and earth to keep him. And now they can't afford him.
He's been a Toronto Maple Leaf for 3 years.
Or a Vancouver Canuck. Yeah. Brock Besser for Matt Dumba.
Now he'll be, who needs a right D?
Oh God.
A few things before we actually go. These are nerdy things. First off, I saw this. Apparently, Hugh Jackman's going to be a Deadpool 3 as Wolverine.
Yes.
That's so random. I didn't think
yes, please
go to this conversation.
We're going to go see that. Bizarre Adventures. I am happy.
Right.
I don't care about X-Men without him in it, so I'm very happy about that. And apparently, James Earl Jones is stepping back from voicing Vader.
Oh, no.
And now it's just he's been like, yeah, you can synthesize. Do the thing of his voice. Yes, do that. Apparently, John Williams has been awarded an honorary knighthood. This is one of the final awards apparently approved by the Queen before she died. So that's pretty cool. Good for him. He deserves it.
He's retiring, is he not? Is that what I read?
I believe, yeah, him. I think after Indiana Jones 5.
Wait, what?
I think he...
Wait.
Indiana Jones 5.
Sorry, there's
Jonesian time.
There's an new Indiana Jones coming out.
Yeah, next year, I think. Yeah, it's going to be Harrison Ford's last film, too, I think.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Oh, yeah, they advertised it at Star Wars Celebration. I remember joking, I'm like, so that's why Harrison Ford is at Star Wars Celebration, because he's promoting Indiana Jones.
Oh.
Yeah. So, yeah, him. If it's a thing of him and Harrison are retiring, then it's going to be a sad day. A sad day. Also, the NHL sucked because apparently, this is per Sad Youssef on Twitter. Jim Nill announced that upon further review, the NHL asked for Ben Bishop to not assume his front office role with the Stars until his contract with Buffalo on LTIR runs out. Bishop will be around the team for the time being.
That's weird.
I hate this league.
Sorry, let me understand this. Jim Nill asked for this. Who asked for this? Sorry, I'm super confused. I missed that.
Hold on a minute. Let me get it back up. Because Jim Nill announced that after further review, the NHL asked for Ben Bishop.
Oh,
so maybe the Sabres said something.
God.
I don't know, but I don't see why in the world this is a problem. I don't understand.
But it was okay when Chris Pronger was
a Coyote. Well, maybe because his contract was he was working for. Yeah, I know, because he's working.
Or Marian Hossa, becoming part of the management, but he didn't retire.
But what team was he under contract?
It was with it was the Coyotes.
Oh, well, I didn't know that. Well, that's even worse. Listen, I think that's just I don't see a point. Who cares? What's he okay? What information could Ben Bishop provide the Stars on the Sabres when he probably showed up for a physical, failed it, and went back home? What information has Ben Bishop gathered from the Buffalo Sabres that could be a benefit to the Dallas Stars?
A lot. You never know.
You have to pay for drinks in the vending machines in the locker room.
Dallas, you should really pay your young guys.
Hey. Oh, hey. Maybe he'll be an inside player and be like, in Tampa we take bridge contracts, then we get paid. Take a 3-year deal, win a cup, and then get 8 years on an even better contract somehow because Florida tax or lack of Florida tax. Okay, that's actually it now. Excuse me. That's it. Thank you for listening. Check out the TikTok. People love the TikTok. I love TikTok. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, our personals as well. All that kind of stuff. Bye.
Bye, guys.